It's late in the evening, maybe around 10:17. The house is quiet. You've brushed your teeth, turned off most of the lights, and you're standing in the kitchen for no clear reason. Nothing is wrong. Nothing dramatic happened today. But there's this low, unsettled feeling, like you forgot something important, except you can't name what it is. You scroll through your phone, open an app, close it. You check your messages. You check your email. Still, the feeling stays. A quiet thought keeps circling, something is missing. What you may be experiencing is a sense of inner lack. Not a specific problem. Not a clear gap. Just a subtle impression that life is slightly incomplete. In this video, I want to slow down and look at why that feeling shows up, what might sit underneath it, and how to relate to it in a way that feels steadier. Inner lack is when your life looks mostly fine from the outside, but inside, there's a steady sense that something isn't enough, your progress, your relationships, your personality, your pace. It's not loud. It doesn't always have a story. It just hums in the background. One common reason is living in constant comparison without realizing how often it happens. It doesn't have to be obvious. You don't sit down and say, "I'm comparing myself." It's more subtle than that. You scroll past someone's engagement, someone's promotion, someone's travel photos. You see a friend who seems confident in meetings. Over time, your brain starts building a quiet scoreboard. It tracks what other people are doing and measures your life against it. So even when you accomplish something real, it doesn't land. Because somewhere in the back of your mind, you're already asking, but is it enough compared to them? Sometimes, it comes from being praised mostly for outcomes instead of for who you are. If growing up or even in early adulthood you were noticed mainly when you achieved something, good grades, productivity, being helpful, you may have learned to tie your sense of worth to visible results. The message wasn't cruel. It may have even sounded supportive. But it quietly taught your mind that being valuable means producing something measurable. So when there's a pause, when you're resting, figuring things out, or simply living a normal week, you can feel oddly empty. Not because you're doing nothing wrong, but because your value system is still waiting for a gold star. Over time, another layer shows up when your life becomes very structured around goals. There's nothing wrong with having plans. Goals can give direction. But if most of your energy is aimed at the next thing, your brain can get used to living in the future. You tell yourself, once I finish this project, then I'll feel settled. Once I move, then I'll feel clear. Once I'm in a relationship, then I'll feel complete. The problem isn't the goals themselves. It's that your sense of wholeness keeps getting postponed. So even when you reach one milestone, your mind quickly shifts the finish line. The feeling of missing something doesn't go away. It just changes shape. Picture a weekday afternoon, around 3:40. You're at your desk, maybe at home, maybe at the office. You've checked off most of your to-do list. The big task you were worried about is done. You lean back in your chair, take a breath, and instead of relief, there's this flatness. You open a new tab and start browsing. You look at job listings, even though you're not planning to leave. You search for courses. You scroll through people who seem more aligned, more certain. Your chest feels slightly tight, like you're behind on something invisible. You think, I should feel satisfied. Why don't I? If you've been there, you're not strange. You might know someone who lives like this. This is what inner lack can look like when it's quiet. It doesn't shout that you're failing. It just whispers that you're not quite complete. But there's something important underneath this feeling. In many cases, inner lack isn't about missing a thing. It's about missing a moment of recognition. You move quickly from one task to the next. You reach a small win and immediately downplay it. You solve a problem and treat it as expected. Your mind rarely pauses to register, that counted. When nothing feels like it counts, your inner world starts to feel undernourished. One gentle shift can be this: at the end of the day, instead of asking, "What did I not do?" try asking, "What did I carry today?" It could be simple. I handled that awkward conversation. I kept going even when I was tired. I showed up to the meeting. Write down 2 or 3 lines. Not a performance review. Just a record of effort. This works because your brain begins to collect evidence that your days are not empty. They are full of small, steady actions. And when you see that in writing, the sense of lack can soften, not disappear, but loosen. Another quiet practice is noticing when your mind moves the finish line. When you catch yourself thinking, "I'll feel better once," pause for a second. Not to stop having goals. Just to ask, if nothing changed for a week, what here is already enough? Look around your actual space. The chair you're sitting in. The conversation you had earlier. The meal you ate. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about letting your body register that something is already here. Because sometimes this feeling of missing something isn't a signal that your life is wrong. Sometimes it's a habit of overlooking what's present. And there's another detail people don't talk about much. Inner lack can also show up when you're disconnected from your own preferences. If you spend a lot of time adjusting to other people, what they like, what they expect, what they approve of, you can slowly drift from your own center. You become good at fitting in. Good at responding. Good at meeting expectations. But when you're alone, there's a faint question, what do I actually want? That question can feel like emptiness at first. Because you haven't been listening to it. So a small experiment might be choosing one thing this week based purely on your own taste. A movie. A meal. A playlist. No justification. No productivity attached. Just preference. This works because it rebuilds a quiet relationship with yourself. And often, what feels like lack is really distance from your own voice. You don't have to solve the whole feeling. You don't have to reinvent your life. You can start by noticing when the thought something is missing appears, and gently asking, missing compared to what? Or missing for who? Sometimes the answer will surprise you. This is for people whose lives look stable on paper but still feel slightly unfinished on the inside. For people who keep achieving, adjusting, planning, and still feel a low hum of not enough. Inner lack doesn't always mean you're behind. It may mean you've been measuring yourself against moving targets, postponing satisfaction, or skipping the moment where you let things count. You're not strange for feeling it. A lot of people carry this quietly. And sometimes, the thing you thought was missing is just your own attention, finally turning inward and noticing what has been here all along. If you'd like more quiet reflections like this, you're welcome to stay.